If you've been scrolling through endless speaker listings, reading specs that all sound the same, and still can't picture how any of them will actually fit in your living room, you're not alone. The biggest fear is ending up with a pair that looks great on paper but either drowns your dialogue or leaves you scrambling for space on a crowded shelf. That's the exact spot where the Acoustics 5010 compact bookshelf speakers try to make a difference. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. I started my deep dive by looking at the room I spend the most time in, a medium-sized family room with a 55-inch TV, a modest soundbar already in place, and a vinyl turntable that I only dust off on weekends. The first thing that caught my eye about the 5010 is its footprint. At just a little over a foot wide, they sit comfortably on a bookshelf or on a low TV stand without forcing you to rearrange the whole space. That's a real advantage if you've ever tried to wedge a larger floor-standing pair into a tight layout and ended up with a precarious lean. The 4.5-inch mid/bass driver paired with a 1-inch tweeter promises a balanced split between low-end punch and high-frequency clarity. In practice, I found the bass to be surprisingly tight for a speaker of this size. When I played a bass-heavy movie like Mad Max: Fury Road, the explosions hit with enough impact to feel immersive, yet they never turned the room into a rattling box that made the walls vibrate. For a vinyl record, the driver reproduces the groove's warmth without overwhelming the delicate mids, which is something many compact speakers struggle with. One of the most common concerns people voice when they consider bookshelf speakers for a home theater setup is whether the Soundstage will feel flat. The 5010's protected tweeter seems to be the answer to that worry. Because the tweeter is recessed and shielded, it cuts through the room's natural ambience without harshness. When I watched a dialogue-driven series like The Crown, the voices stayed anchored to the screen, and the subtle background details, the rustle of a gown, the faint echo in a hallway, were still discernible. That accurate placement helped the whole room feel like an extension of the on-screen environment rather than a separate audio box. If you're a gamer, the speaker's quick response time is worth noting. The 1-inch tweeter handles rapid directional cues in first-person shooters without lag, so you can hear the faint footstep of an opponent before you see them on screen. However, keep in mind that the speakers are not designed to produce the deep, bone-shaking low end of a dedicated subwoofer. In a game with massive explosions, you'll get the rumble, but you'll still feel that extra punch missing if you're after a true cinema-level thump. Pairing the 5010 with a modest sub can fill that gap, but it does add an extra component to the budget. Speaking of budget, the 5010 sits in a sweet spot for people who want credible performance without breaking the bank. The price point lands you in the realm where many brands either cut corners on driver quality or overinflate the price for brand name alone. Acoustics seems to have focused on delivering a well-tuned crossover and a sturdy cabinet that resists resonance. The result is a sound that feels honest. You're not hearing a lot of artificial boost or hidden EQ curves that some cheaper speakers rely on. Who should consider these speakers? If you are a movie lover who values clear dialogue and a realistic soundstage, a vinyl enthusiast who wants a speaker that respects the nuance of analog recordings, or a casual gamer who needs precise imaging without a massive setup, the 5010 fits the bill. They also work well as the front left and right channels in a 2.1 or 3.2 surround configuration, letting you keep a small sub for those low-frequency moments without needing a full 5-speaker arrangement. Who might want to skip them? If you have a large open-plan living area where you expect the speakers to fill the room with deep, room-shaking bass, you'll likely need larger floor-standing models or a dedicated subwoofer to avoid feeling underpowered. Likewise, audiophiles hunting for a near-perfect, high-resolution reference speaker may find the 5010 a solid everyday workhorse, but not the ultimate listening platform they crave. Finally, if your budget allows for a higher-end model with a more expansive driver array, you might get a broader frequency range, but you'll also pay a premium for it. Installation is straightforward. The speakers come with standard 6mm speaker wire terminals, so you can hook them up to any receiver or integrated amp without special adapters. Because they are self-standing, you don't need wall mounts, but you should keep them at ear level for the best imaging. A quick tip I learned from user forums is to angle the tweeters slightly inward if you're placing them on a narrow shelf. This tiny adjustment sharpens the center image and makes the soundstage feel wider. A practical weakness that emerged after a few weeks of daily use is the lack of a magnetic grill. The